back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menti, and we've got a show for you today. First topic we're going over is Eduardo Rodriguez's season debut for the Arizona Diamondbacks, going over the impact that is going to have on Arizona. Then we're going over Reynaldo Lopez going on the IL for the Atlanta Braves, Xavier Edwards' breakout season for the Miami Marlins, the recent Cy Young power rankings, and Sean Manaea's recent run with the New York Mets. But before doing all that, let's ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers. To ensure that your question does get read in the air, please hit the link, gsmcspodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, we are going to be going into our first segment here, of course, which is going to be talking about Eduardo Rodriguez and his season debut for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, this is big news all across baseball, as Eduardo Rodriguez was one of the bigger free agent signings in all of baseball during this offseason. And, of course, he has not made his season debut yet with this team. He signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks because of a lingering injury that started in spring training. But now he's coming back as a big reinforcement for this Arizona team. I know the old saying, best trade deadline move anyone could get, and that's really what the Diamondbacks are getting here in Eduardo. So, very excited to be able to watch him, and I just did want to go over Rodriguez and his potential impact here on Arizona. So, of course, Rodriguez, as I said before, is one of the bigger free agent signings in all of baseball going into this offseason. Obviously, he came off the drama of last year's deadline after declining a trade to the Los Angeles Dodgers from the Detroit Tigers, and then subsequently still signing on the West Coast, where he said he didn't want to go after declining the trade to Los Angeles. Now, Rodriguez signed a big 5-year deal worth around $85 million to Arizona, trying to stop the streak of left-handed starting pitchers for agent contracts going to Arizona. Obviously, last time it was Madison Bumgarner who signed a huge contract with Arizona, obviously a famous left-handed pitcher, and he was absolutely awful with them. So Rodriguez is trying to kind of step that up and, kind of fell back into the cliche being out this entire year now. But getting back is a really big deal for Arizona, and one of the big reasons why I've continuously said that I think Arizona will end up making the playoffs and will end up being a very, very scary team once these playoffs do commence and do get underway. There are a lot of teams fighting for basically two wildcard spots, because we pretty much know the Braves are going to be one of those wildcard teams. And the Diamondbacks, to me, are always a team that has stood out. I really thought it was always them, Padres, and Mets as the teams I really thought stood out for those two wildcard spots. Obviously, you also have the Pirates, you have the Giants, you have the Cardinals. Those are the teams as well. Some even fighting down, kind of like the Cubs, if you want to even go that far. The Nationals, maybe, but really not. So, there are a lot of teams fighting, but I always thought really those teams kind of stood ahead of everyone else. And one of the big reasons why was because of the starting pitching that Arizona had. Going into this year, of course, when I thought Eduardo Rodriguez would be pitching the entire year, I just thought that this rotation would be absolutely incredible and just so nasty. Not only did you sign Eduardo Rodriguez, you also signed Jordan Montgomery to a later contract. And Montgomery also has not been great. That also falls into the Diamondbacks signing for agent left-handed starting pitchers. He's been not great there after a really fantastic postseason run there in Texas. But, even when everyone's healthy, though, I still think this is a fantastic rotation. I mean, you have Zach Gallen, who's a bona fide ace at this point in his career. Merrill Kelly's been on and off the injured list as well, but still is a fantastic pitcher since coming back over to America a few years ago. Brendan Pfaadt has become a really nice young pitcher, and of course you now have Eduardo Rodriguez and Jordan Montgomery, who are also two great free agent signings. To me, that's very hard to beat for the rest of the season. I mean, you have those 5 guys going continuously, and also just going into the playoffs as well. I mean, that's fantastic. You're in a 7-game series. You get Zach Gallen thrown at you, then you get Merrill Kelly thrown at you, then you get playoff wizard Jordan Montgomery thrown at you, then you have Rodriguez sitting on the back end as well, then maybe even Brandon Pfaadt if you have to face him. So I really like what the Diamondbacks are building here, and I really like their rotation, and getting back Eduardo is one of the big reasons why. Now, again, I think when going into the playoffs, this really gives you a big advantage. You saw last year what having a great rotation meant for teams in baseball, and even with the Diamondbacks as well being one of those teams, considering they did have Zach Gallen, they did have Merrill Kelly, they had Brandon Pfaadt, who became just a monster in those playoffs as well, taking over the Phillies and beating them in that 7-game series in the NLCS, winning 2 straight games in Philadelphia, which really nobody thought was going to ever happen. So I'm really excited now to watch this fully healthy Diamondbacks team. Very excited to be able to see what they can do and put together. And, yeah, they're going to be a really, really exciting team to end up watching as we go down the stretch. And I really do think Eduardo is going to help them out a lot because, again, this pitching rotation, very quietly, I believe, is one of the better in all of baseball. So, really, really excited. Looking at what Eduardo did last year, had a really first rough year in Detroit. Got with a lot of family issues. Was on the restricted list for most of the year, dealing with a family issue, and we didn't really know what happened there. But really did not do well last year. The year before that, I should say. But last year did much better, having a 3.30 ERA, expected ERA of 4.04, FIP of 3.66. His pitches looked better. He was letting up less barrels. Hard hit percentage was down. So really looked like the Eduardo Rodriguez of old of those earlier years in Boston, which is one of the reasons why Detroit signed him. And Detroit figured, okay, we were bad last year. Last year going into their mindset, we're bad. Eduardo's probably not going to re-sign with us. Probably going to opt out of his 5-year contract. Might as well try to get something for him. And they traded him to the Dodgers. So it was all done. And Rodriguez said, I have a no-trade clause. I'm not going to the West Coast. Which, believe me, he has all the right to do. I'm not going to really sit here and deface him and say, he can't use the no-trade clause because they gave it to him for a reason. But, I think the fact that he declined to go to the West Coast and then just signed with the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers' direct rival, who are also on the West Coast, didn't sit right with a lot of people. But, again, they gave him the no-trade clause for a reason. So you can't really fault the guy for using it. So, yeah, I think that, again, Rodriguez is going to end up being a fantastic signing for this Diamondbacks team. I really do believe this. Did not start off great, obviously, now, but is coming back versus Cleveland. Sorry about that. A very important series for this Diamondbacks team because Cleveland is one of the better teams in all of baseball, has been all year. And when you're the Diamondbacks, trying to show that you're legit, you're a real team. You're not letting these injuries kind of let you down and get you down as a team, and you're saying we can still do this. We're still a great team. Beating this Cleveland team is very high up on that. They won the first 2 games of the series. Had a big pinch hit home run from Jock Peterson last game. So obviously doing very well, and I think they're going in the right direction. Again, I really like this Arizona team. I really like what they're being able to build here in Arizona, and I'm very, very excited to watch what will end up being the future here of the Diamondbacks team and what is going to be happening overall with them and how they are going to be performing. I really like I really like everything that is going on here, and I really like what they're building, and I think Eduardo Rodriguez can be a big part of what they're going to be here. Now, again, looking at the Diamondbacks team overall, they have a really fantastic team, of course. Corbin Carroll's done much better since his really bad start. Ketel Marte is probably an MVP candidate right now. Aside from the obvious top 2 of Bryce Harper and Shohei Ohtani, I'd say Ketel Marte is right there at number 3, especially after the Mookie Betts injury. I'd say Francisco Lindor is right behind him as well, but I would go Lindor and Marte as both those guys right after. And the fact with Marte doing so well, he's become a huge part of this Diamondbacks team, and it's really exciting to watch. Again, Corbin Carroll's done much better. Gavin Moreno's also done really good this season as well, but just was placed on the injured list, I believe, today by the Diamondbacks with an injury he suffered in yesterday's game. That's obviously tough, but you do have some good catching depth. You also just called up Adrian Del Castillo. So that should be some good catching depth for you guys as well. So overall, I still do like this Diamondbacks team a lot. I still love what they're building, and it's going to be a dogfight going into the end of the year. Right now, they are the second wild card seed, almost 10 games over 500, are barely back from the Braves. So I really like what the Diamondbacks are building, and I really think, again, they do have the advantage. I think because of the pitching staff, that is especially now going to get much better as we go into the later part of this half. With the young offense they have with not only Corbin Carroll but Ketel Marte, but you have Christian Walker there as well. Of course, Moreno there when he's healthy. Alec Thomas, Jake McCarthy, big pieces as well. I think Jordan Lawler should be back from injury at some point. Not sure though. Blaze Alexander has become a really nice infield piece for you guys as well. Eugenio Suarez hasn't done the greatest, but still has a lot of pedigree, and I think is able to turn it on when you really need him to. So still a really good Diamondbacks team. I think, again, you're fighting with Atlanta, you're fighting with San Diego, New York, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, San Francisco. I'm not going to count my fingers anymore. Cincinnati, Chicago. So fighting with a lot of teams for really 2 or 3 wildcard spots that only one team can get, obviously, and it's going to be a dogfight. But I really think the Diamondbacks have the upper hand because of this pitching staff, and now because of getting Eduardo Rodriguez back. I think it's really, really going to be able to help out this team and really do a fantastic job of getting them to where they want to be. So that is my first segment here, talking about Eduardo Rodriguez and his season debut for the Arizona Diamondbacks. We'll be going to our second segment here, which is going to be talking about Renato Lopez and his injuries listed now for the Atlanta Braves, the Braves pitching injuries. So we'll be going over all that, and we'll be seeing you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind.